So tender and mild.
Yes, so Hairless here. Today we have Home Free's version of Silent Night. I have reacted to one other version of Silent Night, and that was by Pentatonics. If you want to check that out, the card for that is up here. Their arrangement was very soothing. They were clearly acknowledging the fact that Silent Night is a lullaby. Now, I won't be comparing Home Free's version to them at all. I'm thinking of them completely separately, but I'm just giving you a bit of context as to my current experience with other versions of Silent Night. My last Home Free reaction was Angels We Have Heard of High, card up here, or it's in the description below. Do go check that out if you haven't already, because I was flabbergasted by the complexity of the harmonies in that one. So I'm wondering with this, Silent Night, if they will, 1, stay true to the calming nature of the lullaby, and 2, if they'll be as daring from a harmony perspective as they were with Angels We Have Heard on High. Because the more daring you get and the more harmonically complex it gets, it has the potential to detract from the overall feeling of the song or the message. So without further ado, let's get straight into this one.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace, heavenly sigh.
Okay, I mean, there's a lot to pick out there, but you know what? As it's a short one, I can see there's only 1 minute left. Let's just carry on straight to the end, and then we'll go back and do an analysis of everything. I'll pick out points throughout the whole thing that I think are worthy of mention. Cool, so let's continue to the end.
Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight of glory stream from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. Christ the Savior is born. Christ the Savior is born. He is born.
God, I felt like that was about 10 seconds. That went quickly. You know, I really enjoyed that, actually. There's definitely a lot to talk about. Right from the first Holy Night.
Silent night,
Here.
holy night.
I could tell we were going to be making a wild ride through the harmony department. Okay, well, let's go back and dissect. This is the second Home Free performance, by the way, that I've seen that has Adam Chance in it instead of Chris. And I've learnt from the comments that he's called Chance and Adam Rupp is Adam, so I'll be referring to Adam Chance as Chance. Right, so this starts off and we're in C major. What that means is that of all of the keys, harmonically this is the most simple because it doesn't have any sharps or flats. As you can see on a keyboard, it's all the white keys. So we're in C, the chord of which is this. But then on Holy Night, there changes to be an A in the bass. It's the same notes as before, but then you've got this on the bottom. So now it sounds like we're in a different key in A. And you can tell how that's a different sound to And importantly, that's A minor. Minor usually being sad, whereas major usually is more happy. But then we go back to C major on night to end that phrase. So I feel like that very, very brief change on Holy Night, whilst it's not massive, it is a hint of what's to come, in the sense that there might be some slightly funky harmonies. Overall though, from that introduction, we're getting the feeling that it is a lullaby. You know, they're not going crazy, they're staying in the overall mood that you might expect. Then this next section, now
all is calm.
we're now in 5-part harmony. It's obvious that there's no beat, so having 5 voices at the disposal for singing, it's all about the harmony, all about the notes that you're picking for every chord. Opening with a quartet with 4 of them is a nice touch too, because it puts emphasis on the 5th voice when it comes in. Whilst in this case, the 5th voice to come in is Adam Rupp, who has a mid to upper range, very nice floaty tenory voice. It does allow for the basses to shine, which brings me on to my next point. As I mentioned before, this is only my 2nd time hearing Adam chants. First time was in White Christmas, and here he's singing the bass part, he's covering the bass, because Tim's part, he comes in slightly late and goes, all is calm.
All is calm.
So if that is Chance that we're hearing and not multi-tracking, Chance has a crazy bass voice. I did not know. I've not been exposed to that before. This is a proper bass sound. So having Chance replace Chris Rupp to me is very, very interesting, because from what I've seen, Chris Rupp didn't have a bass voice. He was more of a mid-range baritone. And having 2 basses with that range, like the basso profundos, in a 5-part all-male group is really uncommon. That's because there's a danger that the arrangements will just become very bass heavy, and having multiple lines harmonizing down in the bottom ranges of what human voices can produce creates a kind of jumbled sound. It's quite difficult to distinguish exactly which part is which, because the lower notes have slower frequencies. So if Chance can effectively cover Tim, not just in terms of range, but in terms of tone of voice too, this genuinely to me is like a revelation, and I'm super excited to see how they use it going forward. The next little section I really liked was all is calm, all is bright.
All is calm. All is bright.
That chord on bright is what I would describe as juicy. I'm sure you can hear that. Traditionally, we'd expect just the 2 chords, G and C. All is calm, all is bright. So traditionally, that's very simple harmonically, but here, they've changed it up a little bit. So Tim's entry, being a bit late, breaks up the homophony.
All is calm.
And instead of the chord being G, it's in D minor, which is different. But it's only brief. Here, we're back to the chord we'd expect. But then, immediately again, we have a different chord to what we'd expect.
All is bright.
But then bright is the chord we'd expect. But home free being home free, it's not exactly the chord we'd expect, because whilst there is C major, the chord that we do expect, there is a B in it as well. So the chord of C. But we also have this B here, so now we're hearing. It just makes it sound a little bit off or different, but it's so subtle that it also doesn't at the same time. It is clearly a C chord. Next part, just a quick honourable mention to the ascending chromatic bass line. Goes like this. On Round Yon Virgin.
Round yon virgin mother.
I always find chromatic bass parts where they're going up or down very catchy. Then just after that, on the word infant,
Infant soul.
we have Austin singing the highest note that we've heard so far in the whole thing. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that high. It's pretty much the top of what a tenor's range is usually expected to be, which goes to show that it is quite a bass-heavy arrangement so far. I'd love to be singing this with them, because the vibrations that you'd get would just be wild. Right, and then to move forward a bit to kind of the halfway point where I paused.
Silent night.
We've had a key change for Tim's entry. We've gone from C, as I said at the beginning, silent night is the melody, now to D. So the melody has just gone to just a small key change. Sometimes you'll have a key change because whoever takes over the melody, this new key is more suited to their range, but we've not really moved much at all, so I think it's just a stylistic choice for a bit of variety. Next little part, Rob has a suspension. You see I always talk about suspensions in my other videos. Listen out for his part, it's la 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 la. The suspension is a note held from the previous chord into the new chord, but you don't change. And he has spiced it up a little bit. Instead of just going la-dum, going da-da-da-dum. He is the only part with movement here, actually, because all the other parts are static. Just another nice small touch to add a bit of movement. Next point, at this part, I want to talk about the chord on sight of.
At the side of.
I'll be back in 10 seconds. I've quickly come into the music software and just put in this chord. So this is the chord. It doesn't matter if you can't read music. We're just thinking in terms of the lowest note upwards and who's singing which part here. So I do believe here that it is one to a part, that there isn't any use of multi-tracking. At least I can't hear any other parts in there. And I make it out to be Chance at the bottom, Tim, second bottom, at the side. He goes
At the side.
Then second from the top up here, that's Rob. And at the top is Austin, which means that down here must be Adam. I only heard him sing in the upper parts of tenor in Angels We Have Heard of High. If I'm correct here and that is Adam, then I guess it just goes to show how versatile they are, which I mentioned earlier with Chance being able to cover the bass. Just several more points now. So this part here, which I am calling the climax of the song.
Heavenly hosts sing hallelujah.
I want to ask, why does this part seem so different to the rest? Sure, they're singing in homophony, and each note that they're singing has an equal rhythm, hallelujah. But it's actually the whole previous section since the key change, since Tim's melody came in halfway through the song, which is about 35 seconds or so before this, that has been building up to this point. Since then, in the whole last 35 seconds, there's only been one moment where no one is singing.
Birds quake.
There, just after Quake. And I think this is done because whilst Tim is saying Shepherds Quake, the other guys in the background are singing Holy Night. So the word night and quake finish at the same time, and then it gives them an opportunity to then all carry on with the same lyrics. Let's listen to that again.
Shepherds quake at the
And then they're all in again on at the site. At the end of every other phrase, someone is singing. Here's an example.
side of glory.
Just with those connecting O's. So here,
Hosts sing
just before the climax, we have another moment where no one is singing. And weirdly, this actually comes in the middle of a phrase. They're breaking up a phrase which is normally not done from a lyrical standpoint. So that as well exaggerates this climax that comes immediately afterwards.
hallelujah.
And then last but not least, just after that, Adam Chance comes in with his solo,
Christ the Savior is born.
which means that Tim has the bass here. Honestly, Tim's bass and Chance's bass, if it is really them at different parts in the song singing the bass, they're indistinguishable. I think that is really, really cool to see. And the very final chord, you can hear the sound resonating. They're so in tune with each other. Yeah, I think that was a nice one. They did a great job of staying true to the lullaby aspect of it, not going too crazy, whilst kind of testing the line. I imagine there's a line of like too far, not too far, and they were right on the edge. I enjoyed that a lot. Let me know your thoughts. As always, thank you very much for watching. Would appreciate a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.